because I'm a believer, you see, but as a believer, I want to sort of refine my belief, Grace. And one of the things that always strikes me with dealing with your workforce, there is always a lunatic delegate in there. You know, somebody that's been indoctrinated and trained, on the blood of employers by the union, and they're trained to uphold the union. So if we're trying to make up with the workforce, how do we deal with that? How do we deal with that person?
So you simply don't talk to them. And so the way the transition works, and it's a really good question, but the way the transition works is that in the past, you might have recognised the delegate as just the general representative of everyone, and you might think when you're talking to the delegate that you're talking to your workforce. Well, you're not. You're talking to this one person who probably hates the company. So the way you do it is by just doing what you do with the union rep, ignoring them. And if they come to you and say, "Oh, there's a bloke who's upset about X, Y, Z, and he wants to know about it," you say, "Well, send him to talk to me. It's in the grievance procedure that he's supposed to talk to me, or get him to talk to his supervisor. I'm not talking to you about it. You can send him in. If he's got a problem, he can come and see me." That's it.
So the union is a de facto bargaining agent, and the union says we're bargaining on behalf of our employees and we want to meet with you with some of our union reps. How do you handle that, given that your model is work with the workforce always, deal with the union but deal with them separately and off-site? What do you do with the union members who want to be part of the negotiating team with the union?
So the way it works you're talking about when you're enterprise bargaining, just not usual. Yep. So when you do enterprise bargaining, the way we do it is that we release the document and the notice to bargain at the same time. So the employees get the document. Instead of sitting down in a meeting and with the union and doing a whole bunch of meetings that take a year or 6 months or whatever, and then at the end of that producing a document that gets voted on, that's not the way we do it. The way we do it is the entire document is written. It's your perfect document. It's what you want, it's what the business needs, it's written in plain English, it's probably only 20 pages, and it is your perfect document, and that's the document you're going to go with. You then give that to all the staff, each one of them individually. You say, "There's your document. We've just sent a copy to the union now. We're having consultation sessions in the workplace for the next 21 days. Every single person will need to go to a consultation session. Because it's a requirement under the Act that we consult with you. At the end of that 21 days, we're going to go to a vote." And then for the next 21 days, the manager or someone in the business has to do the same PowerPoint presentation over and over and over again to all the staff and show them what's in the agreement, what this clause means, what that clause means. They go through the whole agreement clause by clause. Everybody has to sign on a sheet to say they've had their consultation session and they understand the agreement. And then you say, "You like it, you don't like it, vote no, vote yes, whatever, but we're going to teach you what's in this document and what it means to you." So while those consultation sessions are going on, if there are people who want to have the union represent them and there are people who are delegates, you send the delegates off-site on paid time and you send them off to the union. You write to the union at the start and you say, "We're going to have 4 meetings, these are the dates, and at the end of that we're going to the vote. We don't really care what you say." So, and that's what you do, and you just go to the vote. You never delay it, you never do anything. You just have your 21 days, and at the end of the 21 days it goes to a vote. You don't, if the union says, "Oh, we're not ready, we want more meetings," you just say, "Well, great, I want to be J-Lo. I'm not. We're going to the vote." So, and you put it to the vote. Now, in 12 years, I think I've had 2 EBAs go down, and they got up the second time. So, because what happens is when every single person in the business is consulted, when every single worker is ushered into a room and put in front of a PowerPoint and had the whole document explained to them, they're usually really happy with it. because presumably you haven't done something horrible to them, you know, presumably it's a reasonable deal. Or if it's got some things in it they don't like, at least they've had it explained to them and they've had the opportunity to ask questions and so on. So all of the other stuff occurs off-site, and that's really just a red tape thing, a tick and flick thing. Did that answer your question?
Sort of.
Sort of.
I look forward to further consultation.
Okay, do we have any other questions from the floor there?
Grace, it's a little off topic. The government has been talking about opening up the communication between the super funds and the unions. What are your thoughts and commentary on this, and have they gone far enough, or will they succeed?
Look, it's very... something's already happened that will change the face of superannuation, and that is the corrupting benefits laws. So do I think the government will succeed? I don't know, but in the corrupting benefits laws, what's supposed to be happening right now, and it's not even happening because the Fair Work Commission haven't even changed their website or put it on their forms, and nobody even knows about it, and the government hasn't even told anyone about it. But what's supposed to be happening right now is that when any EBA that goes to the vote, if the default fund is a union fund and the union gets something out of it, or the employer gets something out of it, or could get something out of it, a statement is supposed to go to the staff, and the staff are supposed to have it explained to them. And that's not even happening now. So we don't even have compliance with legislation at the moment. So yeah, there's this stuff that they want to do, and it goes through, and it's one thing to talk about it, it's another thing to get the legislation passed, then it's another thing to make everybody comply with it.
Grace, did you notice they amended the Form 17 today to incorporate that statement? So,
Yes.
They are doing something.
Yes, they amended it because 3 weeks ago when I lodged an EBA, I noticed that the Form 17 hadn't changed, and I sent the minister a text and a photo of it and said, look at this, the Commission are not even, you know, they're dragging their feet.
Okay, any further questions? There's one up the back there. Michael?
Grace, just a point of clarification. You speak about the 21 days. And is it coincidental that once you put the notice of employee representational rights out, there's that 21-day period? So what you're suggesting is that your employee consultation period occurs in that 21 days before you're obliged to start bargaining?
No, everything goes out at once. So you put the EBA out and the do you want a bargaining rep? So the notice to bargain, the two things go out at the same time, obviously not stapled together or anything like that, but they go out at the same time and they're signed for. And then obviously you leave it a week for people to come back and say whether they want a representative, and then you start your consultation period.
So you're running the consultation period in that 21-day period and before you're obliged to start meeting with the union?
Meeting with the union, did you say? Well, it's just doing it in the shortest possible time frame. So it's, instead of with traditional bargaining, all of the work starts after the first meeting with the union is held. The way I do it, 80% of the work's already done. So when the forms hit the ground, it's just a, you know, day one, it's all mapped out. These documents go out, this is what happens, day 14, this document goes out, day 21, this document goes out. So and that's not an attempt to avoid meeting with the union. In fact, on day one, when the first document goes out, you send a letter to the union saying, here's a copy of an agreement we've just distributed, and here's a bunch of dates that we want to send our representative to meet with you at your office or, you know, off-site. So we'd like you to agree urgently to these meetings. and then you just send your bargaining agent, whoever that is, you send them along with the spreadsheet, and they just sit in a room with the union and talk to them about the document and get feedback on it, basically. But that process is 5% of the energy and 5% of the importance. That takes 5% of the process. The 95% is the stuff that goes on in the workplace, the consultation with the staff.
Okay, any more from the floor? I might just have one, Macca, I was going to ask you. This one was just in regard, we've obviously done an EBA this year, and it was a fairly long process. And there's also obviously, how do you assess the proposal that the ACT used, looking at doing industry bargaining for agreements going forward that may affect us, and also a number of operators that may have EBAs in this room?
It changes the dynamic of how we may negotiate, and I think I'm going to throw across to Grace and get her view on it, but it's a proposal by the ACTU that we recommence industry negotiations similar to what we did with awards. And I think what Grace was saying earlier is there is an argument that the role of the enterprise agreement, this wonderful thing that Paul Keating introduced many years ago, is actually running its race and may be losing its momentum, and it may very well be that we see into the future a passenger vehicle transportation award with different schedules in it, a schedule for Victoria, a schedule for New South Wales, a schedule for Tassie or South Australia, and we may go back to the old passenger vehicle transportation award. Grace, do you have a similar view, or where are you?
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on, Ian. Look, the ACTU can want whatever they want, but it's another thing to sort of get it in. I don't think industry bargaining is a very good idea, because it's just traditional union bargaining on steroids. It's less consultative. It's not even, you can't, as an industry, you can't possibly hope to represent every employer and engage with every small business and even medium-sized business in the industry. I think it needs to be resisted, and that they do want it, obviously, because people are turning away from the bargaining system. They're bailing out left, right and centre. I was talking to a Fair Work Commissioner recently who was appointed by Labor, and he said to me, enterprise bargaining's dead, it's finished, it's over. Now that's someone in the Commission. So I guess, we're not the only people feeling jaded by the system and feeling that it's done its time. I think way back in the day it was probably a good thing. Yeah.
I can see from the interest in the room there are a lot of you who have some empathy with that position, because I can see in the room a number of you that have been through the ringer, because I've been there through it with you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm just mindful of time. I'd really like to thank Grace and Nikki and Macca for the session, and also thank you to the Interact Group for sponsoring it. So a round of applause from everyone, please.